Yeah.
And Visual Studio, I don't know, light mode, dark mode, all the things. So, all right, let's give Nilesh the floor and let him start his talk tonight. Thanks, Nilesh.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill. So I was asking who here remembers when was .NET version 1 released? Which year? 2005? No. 2002? Definitely not 2003.
Which version? Which version?
1. .NET 1.
Version 1 in 2001.
2000. I started with 1.1, 2003. That's when I got my first paycheck writing ASP.NET Web Forms application. So yeah, some people here know. So it has taken us around like 25 years to reach double digits with the versions. I hope 20 comes out before at least I retire. So when Randy was showing that timeline, right, when the extension methods came, I remember things that were happening. I was getting excited about some of the key features. And when I was at the peak of my blogging powers between 2010 2013, I used to write on an average 2 blogs on Silverlight. And I remember one day, Scott Guthrie, he goes on stage and says, after Silverlight 5, there is no more Silverlight. So, yeah, I've been around for a while. Exciting times, with .NET 10. Lots of new features coming. I think we saw what Brian was showing about the Visual Studio. I've moved away from Visual Studio. I'm more of a Visual Studio code user nowadays. I find that lightweight nature of Visual Studio code to my liking as compared to full-blown Visual Studio. So let's get started. Let's get started with the Agentic AI in the enhancements in .NET. My name is Nilesh. You might have attended few sessions here itself or in the Azure Builders group. For those who have not heard about me, I'm a cloud solution architect at Avanade, and my first name and last name, that combination is quite unique. So I never had a problem on any social media to find like a handle or whatever is required with that Nilesh Gule. So you can find me on almost any social media using that. I'm an ex-MVP. I was Microsoft MVP from 2018 till this year, and currently I'm a Docker captain as well. In terms of my personal liking, apart from tech, I like the game of cricket. So if anybody is interested in talking about cricket, more than happy to talk about Ashes and all the other things that are coming up. But let's focus our discussion on the Agentic AI stuff that's coming in. This picture is from the .NET blog, the recent announcements that were done at the .NET Conf. What this is trying to depict is we can inject the agents, or we can make any application agentic. It's not just like the web or the mobile. We can infuse agentic AI stuff into desktop, games, IoT, and .NET allows us to do this. Will would be talking about the Aspire, so I will leave that greatness of the Aspire to him to demonstrate how to test and deploy seamlessly across the target environments. And then the DevOps part, Visual Studio Code, Azure, all that greatness. So if you're a .NET developer 2025 or going into 2026, what's required to start with Agentic AI? Anyone has heard about the agent framework? Semantic kernel, AutoGen? Okay. So Semantic kernel and AutoGen were two open source projects previously, and recently Microsoft announced the agent framework, which has a lot of support in .NET 10. So what we'll be seeing today is more of things which integrate seamlessly as part of the .NET 10 release, and it builds on top of the agent framework. So if you have not heard of agent framework, that's a good thing to get started with. It's the future, I would say. Whoever is using semantic kernel or AutoGen, there is a nice migration path to use the agent framework. And there are two main concepts under the agent framework that we need to understand. First one is obviously the agents, which are like the systems that combine the reasoning, context, and tools to get something done, to achieve some objective. And once we start building multi-agent systems, we need something to orchestrate that. That's where the workflows come into picture. So the agent framework has capabilities for all this, and this is what we'll be seeing in the first demo. Now, when it comes to the integration or the capabilities as part of the recent release, there is a template which is released for the Web API AI. So this gives us all the scaffolding to get started with Web APIs with the AI agents in it. So let's get started with this, and let's get into the code mode. So to install the .NET 10, I personally use Winget or Chocolatey, the package manager. That's my preferred way to install any software. You can also do it using the GUI-based installer. So the thing I'm going to do here is to install this new template, a project template, and we will get started with that. In fact, I've already done that. So if I try to install it again, it might try to give us an error. Let's see what happens here. Okay, it did install a new one, or yeah, it says this is the project template that will be installed, and the template name is AI Agent Web API. So with this template, now I can go and create a new Web API. This is similar to our .NET New console or .NET New Web API. So I'm going to create a new AI Agent Web API, and the output would be AI Agent Web API. Okay. And this is the code that's generated by that template. So if we look at the references, it automatically gets these package references for us, which includes the agents.ai, agents.dev UI, hosting, OpenAI, AI.OpenAI, and AI.workflows. And using this, it starts to build a very basic sort of agents. So by default, the scaffolding will generate this chat client, which will use the GitHub token, and it will try to connect to the GitHub models, which are again open source models which we can use, and we can use this for testing. And it would try to connect using the API key. So as a prerequisite, we would need to have this API key and the inference URL. Now, instead of using the GitHub model, I have the Azure OpenAI model with me. So I'm going to use that, and as part of the abstractions, I can use any client that is iChat client. So any provider which supports OpenAI APIs can be used here. So that's where I'm going to switch to using the Azure OpenAI and not the GitHub model. And for that, I also need to add these couple of packages.
Can we also add other providers like Ulama?
Yes. Yeah. What is the name I created? AI.
Excuse me. In the meantime, why do you have to make a chat client as chat client? In your code, you have said new chat client as chat client.
Yeah.
Why that? It's already a chat client, isn't it?
It is chat client, but it's converting into the interface, not the specific implementation. iChat client. So let's add the first package. And then identity. And while this is adding, I will make these changes as well to reference those packages in the code. So here I will create the instance of Azure OpenAI chat client. Just replace this block here. And then we have the regular things that we do with our web API, where in the services we add that chat client. We also define the agent. So we start with the system prompt saying you write short stories, let's say instead of 300, make it 500 words about a specific topic. And this agent is named as the writer agent. And then we also create an editor agent here, which will edit that story just to improve the grammar, style, and this one change to 500. And here we are also adding a tool. So as part of the second agent, we are providing a format story, which will take the output and format it into like a title and the story. And then we also map this onto the OpenAI responses. So there are two things which come as part of those packages. We add the OpenAI response here for the conversations, and then we also map it to the response. And if we are doing the dev testing, there is also support for something called as the dev UI. So this is the interactive UI we get, which allows us to test the agents or the workflows. So let's save these changes and run this. Okay, let's hit this 505101 URL. And then if I go to the dev UI, this is like a ChatGPT kind of interface we get, and we can select which agent we want to test here. I've got the writer, I've got the editor,
Can you
and
zoom
there is
in, please,
also the
Nilesh?
publisher.
Can you zoom in?
Yeah, sure. Is it better? Okay, so let's test the writer first and say, write an epic about help.net, hosting .NET Conf Afterparty. So if everything is wired up correctly, it should call that Azure OpenAI LLM and get the response back. No.
Boom.
Okay, I know this timeout happens once in a while, so let's do again. Write an epic about this first. Yeah, and we have the response from the LLM. So this is just calling the writer, and we can also see the number of tokens that were used, 500 tokens. 39 of them were the prompt tokens, and the rest was the response token. We also get the events here on the sides, and if we enable the open tracing, then we also get like the trace output here, open telemetry. There is also the tools feature. Now in this case, the tool did not get executed. So instead of testing the agents one by one, let's test the complete workflow. And here we can see a visual representation of that workflow, and I can directly invoke the workflow here. So I can give the same thing. And run the complete workflow. So it shows every step in the workflow, what is happening as part of the individual workflow, and in this case we can see that the tool was called, the tool output as well. So all these components of the agents, we can test them in a very interactive manner using this dev UI. This is meant purely for dev testing, so nothing that goes into production. The other thing I want to show is, so let me switch back to the slides. So as part of this, we looked at the sequential workflow, the workflows pattern, where the output of the first agent was fed in as the input to next one. But there are other like Agentic AI patterns which are supported as part of the agent framework. We can do the concurrent workflows. We can do handoffs where dynamically we are passing control between the agents. There is the group chat as well, which allows to have more of a conversation between agents to solve a complex problem. And there is the Agentic workflow, which allows the dedicated manager to coordinate the different specialized agents. And we use these AI extensions, which gives us the abstractions over different things like the chat client, which provides the provider flexibility. So we already saw that I could switch between the GitHub model and the Azure OpenAI. This could be OpenAI, Olama, or any OpenAI compliant inference model. The pipeline again supports things like caching, logging, custom behaviors, all that we use with normal web APIs. We can use that as part of this AI web APIs as well. Dependency injection is a well-established pattern in .NET, so that again is part and parcel of this. OpenTelemetry is supported for monitoring purposes, and there is also support for the abstractions for vector data. So it's really enterprise-grade framework and tooling that's available, which we can use to build the agents. Now, the next thing I want to demonstrate is the template for MCP. MCP is the Model Context Protocol. There is already a C# SDK, and this allows us to extend the capabilities of the agent by calling APIs or connecting to databases. So there is a similar template on the MCP as well. If I want to build a MCP server myself, I can use this pre-built template to get started. So again, I will install this. So it will install two types of sub-projects, the AI Chat web app and the local MCP server console app. And using this, I can then go and create the MCP server. So the scaffolding will again give me the things which are required for creating a new MCP and publishing that MCP server. So in here, it will create a sample tool, which will just do a random number generation between two values. And then it also gives us a complete README in terms of what's required to create the whole MCP server and expose it, and how to use that if you want to use it within like Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio. that, I think I'm done with the demos. In terms of the resources, I've published these slides, so you can refer to these resources to know more about the agent framework, the templates, and also there is something called as the agent UI or AGUI, which is the user interaction. So if we are building like the agents which require user interaction, then there is a protocol which is also supported as part of this upgrade. So all that comes in those resources. You can scan the QR code to see this demo on GitHub. The code is published on GitHub. Any questions? You can easily convert
The
that.
semantic
to-
kernel.
Yeah,
What? One. What? Two.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So, what techniques would you suggest to reduce the token usage?
The token usage.
Yeah, between you and the LLM or the AI model on the other side.
There was if you are using like the API management to connect back to the LLM using the AI gateway, there was semantic caching capability where you could cache like the response and even the queries that are sent to the LLM. That's one approach that I am aware of. I also read recently that you could generate code on the fly in some cases. That helps to reduce the context that is sent to the LLM and reduce the tokens. But yeah, so I haven't really explored that part yet, but that's an approach I know someone is talking about.
But there is already something that's making the code generation, or you need to do it manually. So any
No,
framework
you need a LLM which will first generate the code.
generates it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other question? Okay, thank you. Over to you, William.